I'm Papa Lucifer Samdi, your occult therapist, your occult therapist, your shadow shaman, your guide, your spiritual life coach, and welcome to another Wednesday night. Eventually, we're gonna have that next week we hitting it. Next week we dropping music in this. Next week we gonna be putting that music in it. But I wanted to get into the aspects of over the last couple of weeks, every week, 8 p.m. Y'all tune in 8 p.m. Every at 8 p.m. we getting into these aspects of really dealing and dying with our shadow. There's a lot of conversations that we got to make normal. A lot of the things that are happening inside of your life, the things that I had to realize going through my healing process, coming into my awakening process, coming into where I'm at now with myself, is understanding, hey, what's up? Is I had to understand that it's the shit that I wasn't dealing with. What I tell a lot of my clients, when I'm breaking down to my clients, it's the unresolved. One of the things I love saying is it's the unresolved that creates your space. It's the way you react to your unresolved that sets your tone for your standard. It's the unresolved that sets how you structured and put your life together. It's your unresolved that sets your stability inside of your space. This is when we come into the aspects, especially you want to come into your spiritual, your awakened aspect of yourself. You're not coming into this. You were already spiritual. You were already abundant. You were already in that space. You were already in that position. But the problem is with us being inside of this position is that you're not assessing it's my unresolved aspects that keep giving me that I keep creating my space. And I wanted to get into tonight. We're going to get into the aspects of self-reflection. That real aspects of self-reflection. If you were looking at my page, I put up a post about self-reflection. I put out a self-reflection challenge for the next 12 days. That means whether you're here on my TikTok, whether you follow me on Facebook, whether you follow me on Instagram, even I'm going to drop a couple videos on my YouTube channel. We're going to go through a self-reflection challenge, 12 days, 12 different prompts. We going to go through these in each one of these aspects. The prompt for today in this self-reflection that we're going to get into is understanding that what you repress is the addiction to what you deny. What you are suppressing, what you repress, what you keep repressed, that fear of that conversation that you know you need to have, the fear of that conversation, that fear of that understanding, that fear of that understanding to yourself, that's what's keep you stay in this state. We stay in this state of denial with ourselves because of that repressed memory, because of how we remember it. And because, remember I just said that unresolved, based on how you remember what happened to you, that's how you're always going to react. There's a lot of people right now, you can be in your 30s, 20s, 30s, you can be in your late 30s, early 20s, early 30s, late 40s, whatever age you are at inside of that space. Think about this. Whatever happened to you when you were 5 years old that stunted your emotional development, that emotional mature, you've been stuck in this emotionally immature, underdeveloped space. Every time you've been getting into these arguments with yourself, every time you've been getting into arguments with others, you've been arguing to them from the eyes of a 5-year-old, the 5-year-old development, that 5-year-old space where you were, everything that happened to you when you were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it don't matter what age it was. That's where a lot of us are acting out from. So you think about those conversations that you had. You think about that repressed memory and how fast that repressed memory keep coming up every 5 days. Every day because you're waking yourself up, reminding yourself of what you've been through. I got my job based on what the hell I've been through coming from struggle. I got this, all of these aspects. You're looking at it from the eyes of a 5-year-old. You're looking at this from the eyes of a 5-year-old. You're coming through it from the eyes of the 5-year-old, the 8-year-old. a lot of the things that I was doing inside of that space with myself, I couldn't tap in. I'm going to give you this key. You can't do any work. You can't really build anything until you deal with the unresolved. Because everything you're building through your unresolved, the trauma, that you're going through, the shit that been knocking you down, it's because of your trauma. It was because of my trauma that I couldn't establish anything. Because I had so much shit sitting on the table. I had so much stuff sitting on the table. I give an example. Because I always got to be honest. Me repressing the fact that I went to I have my all my shit for psychology and all my shit for business. I have all my shit for business and all my shit for psychology. I earned all of that shit between 04 and 05. 2004 and 2005. But because previous to that aspect, I went through another traumatic event that was based on results of me not learning, listening to myself at that point in time, I never used it. Because I allowed the stigma, what I was attracting in my environment to like, niggas don't take accountability. What I put on top of accountability. So accountability is that bottom layer that's at the surface inside of the shadow. Let's get to know your shadow. Accountability. Your ego tries to protect you from basically accountability. So now everything you build on top of that aspect is a layer of reaction to you not taking accountability. So now every conversation that you have is based on the aspect of you not taking accountability. And everything else that goes. So now every time you have a self-reflective moment to what you've been repressing, you ain't got to look far for it to come out. What you keep repressing, you ain't got to look far for it to come out. Because it's going to come out in some way, shape, or form for you to feed it. This is when we always think, I'm just going to turn my emotions off and I ain't going to be emotionless. You can't be emotionless. It's impossible to be emotionless. Your entire dynamic of your body is everything down here is based in emotion. The energetic motion, your energy in motion. Literally. So you can't shut off I had to tell myself things like, you can't turn off your emotions and go to the gym. Because all you're doing is programming your anger, your stress, your doubt, your inadequacies into your muscles. All you're doing is programming. You can't shut off your emotions. All you're doing is programming it into this thing that you're making tangible. So everything that you've now built based on the traumatic experience, everything that I've been through, and can't nobody take this away from me. You saying it so many damn times because you still trying to convince yourself. There was so many times I'm sitting there with this falsehood with the aspect of it, not learning how to use it, not understanding the aspects of how energy works. Remember, energy doesn't, like whatever you put energy in, that shit needs to devolve. So when you're thinking about your shadow, where all your light and all this energy come from, the only way that you can actually do anything or project yourself into that thought process is going to be through, it has to match it in the energetic rhythm. It has to match this energetic rhythm that I get into with my clients. It has to be in that energetic rhythm. So that lack of understanding that you had about a relationship or the relationship between your mother and your father, or the mother and her, whatever that dynamic was, your lack of understanding in that, not really sitting with that, not really reflecting the effects of that. I don't mean by the feeling based on impulse. We mean based on response. Because a lot of times when we're going through our work, I can give someone a self-reflection exercise and you'll try to run through it because your trauma response is to run through things. The faster I get through this, the faster I can get to what outcome. What outcome are you trying to get to? One of the biggest things that I tell all of my clients is stop looking for the outcome. Stop putting aspects on the outcome. Stop putting aspects on the outcome. Stop putting You putting so much energy on that outcome. I want this house to be like this. I want this car to be like this. When I sat down and sat with myself, when I really sat down with myself, when you really sit down and self-reflect, the house that you've always wanted, as an example, the house that you've always wanted, you've always had. The house that you've always wanted is the house you've always had. Because I'm going to give you some trippy shit. Let me give you some trippy shit. I remember using this example, I remember being 12 years old, the first time going to grab like a sketch pad. Like I didn't want anything else. Like I sacrificed like my brothers and sisters. Like it was a year where my pops was unemployed at that time. My pops was unemployed. We're going through all these different dynamics, family secrets coming out, whole bunch of shit coming out, whole fucking thing changing in the world. So I'm sitting in the space and this is like my first aspect of a sacrifice. And like I lit my sisters and my brothers get the stuff that they needed for school. And I was like, good, I'm good. I got stuff from last year, whatever. I'll wait. I remember my mom got me a sketch pad. My mother got me a sketch pad. And I remember I was like, I want to design my first house. And I remember sitting there with the sketch pad and I remember designing my first house. You know, when you draw your first house, like you 12 years old, like 12 years old. I'm an 84 baby. I was born in 84. Drew my first house. Of course, my room got speakers in it. I'm drawing all these things into my house. I'm drawing my house. Now, in the aspect of manifesting, when I tell my clients, you done all of this shit unconsciously. In the aspect of manifesting, at 12 years old, I manifested my first house. I manifested my first house. I put the intentions into my first house. And the reasoning behind it, I didn't understand emotions. So the emotions that I'm using to manifest this crib was based on the sacrifice that I made, all of the anger that I wasn't dealing with, my high-ass anger complex, being very high to the aspects of raging out on people, finding out other aspects of my life, like, oh my God, this was a lie for 26, this was a lie for this amount of time. All of these aspects are being programmed through that pencil onto that piece of paper. Now let's fast forward to the first crib I ever had. The first crib I ever had, not really thinking about it, my bedroom looked like the bedroom that I drew when I was 12. So I always had it. But since I was doing it unconsciously, this is what a lot of times we do unconsciously. You're doing this shit unconsciously. And then you program it based on the unconscious. Let me look. I can't see that. God dang, I can't read that shit. Yeah. What made me at 4 years old? I'm reading. I can't read what I want to read. You won't let me read this. Oh. Hold on, wait. I can look at it like this. Oh, no, don't do that. We are learning this together. I do not know how to answer questions. Oh, my God. Okay. Okay, there it goes. Pull it up. No, not that. Go back. I don't want it to do that. Go back. Oh, shit. At 4 years old, because for me at that point in time, it's an unconscious act. Because at 4 years old, between 4 and 12, in these ages, you have these thoughts. You're not thinking about manifesting a home. It's the aspect of like when you were a child, having the things that you did, like when you went outside and you played cops and robbers, you played games or whatever, you was running around we were flipping on mattresses. You're creating that aspect inside of your space. So at 4 years old, I'm not thinking about manifesting a home. I'm just thinking of what my first home looked like. I'm just thinking like, what will my first crib look like? But I'm not, since you're unconsciously doing it, that's when it goes, like, remember, we're switching from conscious to subconscious. So since I'm unconsciously doing it, it's being fed by my subconscious thought process. So basically, every time that I got my house, my dream crib, from that age on, every time that I got my dream space, it was always a fragment of it through that emotional impulse. So my first time out of the house and I'm on my own and I'm grown now. And yeah, I'm out because of the situation that happened at the house where me and my pops were finally at odds. And I was trying to be a man and all this other things because I was in both sides of the life with myself. Now going back there, first house that I get to, it resembles my first crib. It resembles that there's spaces inside of that space that resemble my first spot ever. But since I'm not paying attention to this is how we get stuck in these loops, not reflecting on this. And it's based on repressing a memory. My mindset's more focused on the outcome that I finally got this house. I finally got this crib. I finally got this job. I finally got this spot. So now I can know now, since I'm not reflecting, I'm still repressing, I'm automatically denying. And this is the key when you're denying. You're automatically denying because you're acknowledging a story. You're acknowledging a feeling. But because you're only acknowledging a feeling and you're not acknowledging the emotion, this is where you go from it being generic to being authentic to you. That self-reflection is ugly as shit because you're being authentic to you, not to the potential that you're becoming, but what you were inside of that space. I had to admit that a lot of the shit that I did when it came to fighting people and trying to like stand up for people and buck up on people and come at people, a lot of that shit came from the fact that I thought I wanted to defend my sisters, my brothers, and my mother at a point in time. Until I dealt with that, it wasn't based on the feeling, because the feeling was my pop should have been this, and that. The emotion was I didn't understand why he was like that. So since I didn't understand his why became my why automatically. In some way, shape, or form, his why, his repressions became my denials. My denials became others' repressions. So now when I'm looking into the space, I'm not self-reflecting, I'm projecting into the space. Now I ask myself the question, what am I projecting on the others? What do I do with the house? Let me look at this. What do you do with the house though? In some way, shape, or form, the house material, everything that you're bringing into your space is based on your level of access, that emotional point of access. So I use the example. For me, we're going to keep building on aspects of the house. We're going to talk about the house. Me going through the aspects of realizing that ever since I was 16, all the way up to the age now that I kept manifesting the house, it was the emotional impulse that had me manifest certain parts of the house. Because I remember like using an example. I remember my first apartment. It was my first lease with my name on it. And the first thing that I did is I went and furnished it. I went to the furniture place. I went and got all the furniture and everything in my crib. I went and did all of that. Do the emotional impulse. But I couldn't feel it. See, when we talk about feeling the manifestation, I couldn't feel it. It didn't matter what the fuck I bought inside of my house. I couldn't feel it. I was like, okay, cool. I got this new table. I don't feel it. I got this table in my house. I don't feel it. I got the TV. I should feel excited by it. I got the bed. I should feel excited about it. I can go smack. All of these things, I couldn't feel it. Therefore, it wasn't real. Because since now this is the wound. This is how we start self-reflecting, looking at these wounds. Because my wound was acceptance. Because my wound was acceptance, I could not own the now inside of that position. I couldn't own the now. So when we're thinking about manifesting something into your space, in some way, shape, or form, you got to really understand the things that always come up first. Because you can be looking for a house, the outcome of a house, but you know in the human aspect of yourself, you know you got bills that are due. You know you got bills that are due. You know you got your credit you ain't got no go. Your credit is shit. You know the things that you got to take care of. And when we're going into an aspect of manifesting without that self-reflection, you'll try to skip over those points. Damn, man, I didn't get the house that I wanted. I've been wanting this house ever since this because of my kids need to have a house and my kids need to have this and somebody need to have this and I'm tired of struggling. Got to be honest with yourself. What am I denying myself? In me trying to go get this house first, what am I really denying myself of? This is when you get honest, we sit in that honesty. The first house that I've never seen a house that was in order. So the only way that I was getting cribs and getting all this stuff, the only way I was getting the money and getting the cribs, everything came from a state of high level chaos. So for me to even think of a dream home where it was going to be peaceful, I never seen that shit before. I never seen a peaceful ass house ever. So how can I manifest a house from a peaceful space if I've never seen a house that was at peace? How can I manifest this? How can I manifest an individual, collective relationship if my reflection of the relationship with myself, I've never seen that. I've never felt it. I've never understood it. I've never broken that down with myself. See, when we're going into this space with ourselves, that's the stuff that we're looking at. It's like when you're going through this self-reflection process, what am I projecting on the others? Let's get into these days of self-reflection. When I'm reflecting into a space, what am I projecting on the others? Every time I go into a space, I'm either actively projecting or actively observing. No problem. You have to let go of it. You have to let go of it. When I was going into the space with myself, what am I projecting on the others? I don't project anything on every time you go into a space, you're either actively projecting or actively observing. So if I have the unresolved based on attention, me having attention, me being the aspects of leading in the aspect, but I never saw leadership as an example. This goes out to masculine that I never understood what leading was. The first rule in the aspect of leading that I learned from my father and my uncles on the other side was you establish by example. That means you're establishing by example. Every time you go into a space, you're establishing by example. Rich Ethan, grand Ethan. You are now inside of that space. You are now setting the tone based on establishing. So I had to be honest with myself and look at what I established. In my mind, I'm sitting there, I ain't established anything because I don't have anything. Your first establishment is your emotion. So when you project into a space, you're establishing the tone. Regardless if you're doing it consciously or not, you're going into that space, you're establishing the tone based on your emotions. The lack of emotion or the lack of understanding of your emotions means when you go into the space, means one second. Ugh. Ooh. All right, we back. All right. If you are familiar with me, if you're rocking, if like you're familiar, if you have not, go watch my lectures on YouTube. Like I'm drinking so much fucking water, and yeah, we going really fast. But if I go into a space, self-reflection, projecting, if I go into a space and I have unassessed emotions, that means I have an emotional immaturity with myself. That's what's setting the tone inside of that space. My lack of understanding my emotion sets the tone. Anybody that comes into your space to create with you, whether it be your homeboy, your homegirl, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, baby father, whoever it is, it don't matter what the fuck they are on the surface. We talking about the shadow. We talking about in the aspects of energy. So when I went into spaces to set the tone with a lack of emotional intelligence, always angry and this from a lack mentality, when I go into the space and I'm doing that from a passive nature, that means I'm avoiding of my emotions or jumping around with emotions. When let's say I'm coming into a relationship, they come into the space, they're gonna set the tone. Because I'm sitting in my emotions. I'm sitting in a lack of emotion. So I'm automatically going into that space, projecting my emotion, projecting my need for my emotion. I'm projecting my underdeveloped emotions into the space. I'm projecting my need for somebody to have underdeveloped emotions into the space, because that's how I learned to validate my emotions. That's how I learned to validate my reactions. So now the relationship, that's the tone of the relationship. Underdeveloped invalidation. The atmosphere is self-reflecting and projecting. The atmosphere is the emotional response, the emotional cadence. So I'm getting with a chick. She has a lack of, what does she have? The atmosphere that she's going to build, whether she's conscious of it or not. But this is how we get stuck in the aspects of the wounded aspect versus what the connections and what they are. That first instinct of that connection, it seems, attention. It feels good. That job, when you first got that job, it felt good. When you first got in that relationship, it felt good. And since it felt good and you're moving on that impulse, lack of self-reflection, now you're going into this space automatically. What am I able to repress and what am I able to deny? Every relationship you did based on a trauma bond was based on what you were able to repress and what you were able to deny. Remember, your repression sets the tone for what you're able to deny. So if I'm still repressing that I have not forgiven myself for something, I haven't forgiven this person, and I haven't forgiven my mother for what she did, I haven't forgiven my pops for what he did, I haven't forgiven these people, then every relationship will be my chance to to rationalize the denial of forgiveness. Every relationship, every friendship, every job, I will be passively looking for the reason why I don't forgive people. But in the reality of that, now I'm expecting others to forgive me based on that same reaction. Based on that, but you got to forgive me. You know what I've been through. You have not been through more than me. Invalidation. It'd be toxic. Everything that you're doing inside of the traumatic space with a lack of self-reflection and accountability is automatically you sitting inside of that space with yourself, every fucking time off top, it's invalidation. We can make it cute and shit, but it's you're invalid. The only way that you exist is based on invalidation. And we say it in these tones that we really don't understand because it's of that not relearning what love is. Relearning what love is by understanding I can't understand the love that I learned if it was based on survival. It was based on accessories, based on survival. It was based on compliance. So what I thought was loyalty was actually compliance. So what I created was a space where I was loyal to the compliance. In order to get from me, you gotta comply to this, this, and this. If you don't comply to this, this, and this, fine, go somewhere else. I do it by myself. Because that was my fear of rejection. You see how you can now, you weave your shit, you weave the pattern. So when it comes time to self-reflection, that layer, I call these the layers of reaction. On top of that traumatic experience, you put all these layers of reaction. You weave this web like the spider, and now you're sensitive. Now when you're coming in, this is when people talk about, I'm an empath and I'm a high vibrational being. You're high energy. Yes, you are. Not going to deny that. But you have to remember, what's the program of that? What's the program of those senses? This goes into the aspects of when you're trying to manifest the crib, manifest things into your life. It takes all 5 senses to manifest something into your space. It takes all 5 senses to be active. We saw that shit in Captain Planet every damn day when they did Captain Planet and Summon Captain Planet. All 5 elements, all 5 senses got to be active for you to pull something into your space. But if I'm overly doing something, now that's the spiritual aspect. The psychological aspect, the mindset, the human aspect of that is if I'm overly doing something, that means I'm overly trying to be seen. I'm either overly trying to be seen or I'm not trying to be seen. I'm either overly trying to be felt or under the aspect of not being felt. I'm either overly trying to be heard or I'm trying to be undermining me being heard. You see how either way you're activating all 5 senses unconsciously. So what you manifest into your space is that homegirl that's extra loud because you ain't loud, or that nigga that's really rah-ish because behind that rah-ish is you being scared or that fear of something. But now you got to think about it like this. If I'm sitting here behind something where this nigga's rah, or shorty's rah or loud, I got to ask myself a question before it became real. I got to ask myself the question, is my shadow casting this light or projecting into this space, or is it their shadow? Who's casting and creating this projection? It takes 2 to make that project. It takes 2 to create. It takes 2 to create. So if I'm validating their being angry, if I'm validating me being not needing to do this or not needing to step up and denying that I need to stand up and assert myself in certain situations with myself, assert myself primarily in a situation with myself to deal with myself, then what's on the other end? Now me, I legit, after doing the work and doing my work and constantly doing it, I'm inside of that space with myself where I'm like, you know what? I'm legit, don't give up. I don't care. Here's the thing. That's what I wanted to say. Y'all, I'm having moments. I have compassion for the human existence, the human experience. I want to get this out there before it goes away again. I have compassion for the human experience. Therefore, I'm cordial. I'm cordial to humanity. That's my level of caring for humanity is based on being cordial, not compliant, cordial. That means I can accept without relation. Let me read this. Wait, why do I keep pressing the wrong button? It won't let me do what I wanted to do. Go up. Wait, so you can be clear. What are we being clear of? Oh shit, don't do that. So when we go into that space, I always talk about the aspects of transparency. That self-reflection is what builds the transparency. Going into a space with that clear intention of manifesting something into my space, that's the transparency. That's me being transparent. That's me understanding I need to be honest with myself. I always talk about the aspects of honesty. You being honest with yourself, that's going to expose you to yourself. That denial with yourself, what you've been repressing, what you've been projecting on the others, what you've been avoiding in conversations, with the conversation you've been avoiding with yourself. This always shows up in your space. That same conversation that you're avoiding to have, that same conversation you've been avoiding to have over the last with every relationships. Let me see this. So I can be clear. So I can be clear if someone is. So I can be clear if someone is loud. It could be shadow. Yeah. When you're sitting in that space, when we're dealing with our shadows, you can be clear with someone, but their clarity or their ability to understand what you're saying is only as deep as they've dealt with their own shadow. And vice versa. There's many times I've had conversations and I would get upset, like, you really don't understand what the fuck I'm saying? And it wasn't that they didn't understand what I was saying, or I wasn't explaining it clearly or to that area, because like I'm looking at how it's triggered. This is the key. I'm seeing it how it triggers me. It's always based on how I can't control somebody else's reaction. All I can take accountability for is how I react to anything, period. So if I'm having a conversation with someone and they're not understanding it, the first thing that I'm going to ask myself, what I used to ask myself is like, you that stupid as fuck. I used to say that shit. But then, eureka moment, I had to go back to the conversations and the way that I'm explaining this based on where they're at. Why is it triggering me? I had to go back once again into that internal work. Where did I hear conversations all the time? Where am I pulling this information from? That I just know to say this. Where am I pulling this information from? And a lot of that information, it came from the lectures with my pops, the lectures from my uncles, the lectures that I was hearing all the time. So the reason I'm getting triggered in this moment of explaining something to someone is because I'm bringing it from a space of my own shadow. I'm not being present. Now I got to ask myself the question, am I really listening to this person, or am I trying to fill in blanks with this person? Is this person I'm trying to sub something out? If this person doesn't understand me, is this trying to validate that I'm simply too much for people? That's why, because I got to listen to the story that I've told myself in my past, in relationships, friendships, of people saying like, you just too much for people. I had to really get honest with that aspect. It wasn't that I was too much because yes, I would be too much for people. But I had to understand, what was my intention going into the space? I was used to being overly something inside of a space. So if the last friendship relationship I was tired of being nonverbal, then in the next space I was going to be overly verbal. It's kind of like this. When you sitting at the house, and you know your homegirl in a relationship, and she be real shut down at the house. But whenever she go out with her girls, she loud and wilding, or the homeboy, he wild and wilding. But at the house, he got that fracture of his mother figure sitting at the crib. So he ain't like that loud at the house, or she ain't that loud at the house. It's kind of like what you keep doing with yourself, because you keep creating the space so you can keep feeling that you're going through a process, going through that progress. You set at your job. I remember being at my job. There was this chick at my job. We had this chick at our job. She was like that. I remember like, why is that? I remember I had a boss at work. She was like the boss at work. She was the boss at work. And the reason she was so boss-like at work was because we looked at the relationship that she was in. We're like, oh, all of these different narratives. And I'm saying that based on the reflection of your narratives. Everything coming into your space telling you exactly what you need to be doing. And it's up to you to take the key to do it. See, I wasn't doing that a lot of times. I'm sitting in spaces trying to make everybody, I'm trying to keep everything, I'm trying to be a mediator, what I'm calling a mediator. But I was really being the stater of compliance. I wasn't mediating shit. Because a mediator's job is to have both people speak their piece and come to an agreement of some sort. So I'm going into spaces, I'm not mediating shit. Because a mediator is unbiased. A mediator is unbiased. So I wasn't mediating for myself, so I'm damn sure not mediating. So now I don't understand any side of conversations. Conversations that I'm having with people. The mindset of every conversation that you go into should be based on de-escalation. You watch every single movie when their motherfuckers are going in, whether it's a fire, whatever it is, they always say the first thing that they're supposed to do is de-escalate the situation. Ever since you were 8 years old, and every time you saw a fight between your parents, you never saw any fucking de-escalation. The only thing you saw that was the example of de-escalation in your life was after the argument, and then your mom was getting money, your dad gave your mom some money in her hand, or hell, your mom gave your dad some money, or your mom would kiss your dad. You're like, okay, cool. That is my unconscious example of what de-escalating an argument is. So that means there's still love there. Think about how you program your space. This is how we start programming it. So your idea of love must come at that high ass shit. Your idea of love got to come at this high ass price, this extreme, in order for you to demonstrate de-escalation, which is actually just making shit go dormant, which is actually denying, which is actually further repressing, which is what is now still further projecting. So now that conversation is different. The conversation is different when I'm looking for comprehension. If I don't understand something, I will tell you I do not understand it. If I do not know something, I will let you know that I do not know something. That way I'm not pulling from the past. See, these conversations become different when you start doing a self-reflection. The point of the self-reflection exercises that I give out to clients is for you to learn how to bring yourself to the now, to the present moment. When you're in a healthy space with yourself, your conversations are always based in the present moment. It's always based in the now. If you find yourself always reaching back to the past or always jumping to the future, you're overexerting yourself. The now is where you're only in the now. So every situation, everything that you go through is from this point of now. Everything that you're going to deal with and have a conversation with is in the presence of now. Because everything else that I do is going to be based on self-reflection. So if I'm always in the past, always in the future, I lack the awareness and I lack self-awareness and I'm not reflecting. I'm not taking self-reflection. I'm reflecting, therefore I'm projecting. I should be here. I'm this age. I should be here by now. Who said? Who said? What have you built what have you built into that space to even remotely be in alignment with that? What have you built inside of that space that should put you in alignment with that? Remotely, let's think about that. You want to have this, I want to be in the best relationship ever. But when I ask a client, what was your first positive relationship that you've ever seen? What was your first healthy relationship? I won't even put the healthy in front. I said, what was the first relationship? What was the first relationship that you experienced and saw? Because guess what? This is honesty when we get into this point. Every relationship that you saw that you thought was unhealthy was healthy. And I'm gonna break that down. Every relationship that you saw you thought was unhealthy was healthy. It was healthy and unhealthy at the same time. It was healthy based on survival. That relationship that may have been unhealthy that you saw and that you went through, and the events that happened based on this unhealthy relationship, it was healthy based on survival. It was healthy based on survival. And anybody surviving inside of that space or still living in that role of survival, that will always be healthy to them. So this is when you come, this is acknowledging and accepting. So whenever I see as bad as it would hurt to see family members and friends going through these wild ass relationships, hurting and getting hit upside the head and all this shit, and instead of me reacting and then getting further mad when they go back, I had to accept in reflection, this is showing me that everything that I'm saying, I have to start taking root with it with myself. Because what I'm seeing now, I just said I desired a more healthy relationship. In order to groom and manifest a healthy relationship, I have to see what a healthy relationship is. That means I got to see it with myself first. Or that's the result of me not seeing a healthy relationship. That's the extreme of not having a healthy relationship with myself. That's the extreme of me not having a healthy relationship with myself. All I can do is provide the space and establish the example and set the tone for my boundary inside of my space. So now this is my ideal of a healthy relationship. So the events that I now will involve myself in are based on the healthiness of my relationship. So then it becomes the behaviors and the patterns of the people. Because I've broken this down before. If you scan through my TikTok channel, your ideas are your mindset, your thought process, your subconscious. Everything in that subconscious mind, all that unresolved. The events in your life, those are the aspects of the emotional currency that you're willing to subscribe to and buy them tickets to all the time. The people the people in your life, those are the reflections of those aspects of the behaviors and the patterns that match your emotional cadences, that match the idea that you view of yourself. That's why I don't do this, and that's why I don't do that. I always say, why are you picking sides? You out here trying to pick motherfucking sides. Why? Don't make sense. Don't fucking matter. Pick sides all day. My whole job is to see how both of these motherfuckers work. They both me. One side is the extreme of my negatives and one side is the extreme of my positives. Self-reflecting. Because as I learn that aspect, now when I'm going through the space with myself, instead of the steady reaction to react to everybody and everybody makes me feel bad and everybody makes me feel upset and I don't feel okay and I'm mad, I have to ask myself the question, why? Why doesn't anybody understand me? What conversations am I having with that? What conversations am I need to have? One of the biggest things when it comes to this healing process is the level of acceptance of the shit that's going on in your life. The level of acceptance changes everything. You're going to have to accept that relationship with that man, woman is going to change. It has to dissolve. The things that built it based on reaction or emotional impulse have to dissolve in order for you to actually have the truth, actually move forward. I say simple and plain. The people you came in with is not the people you're going out with. That relationship, if you have children, that relationship is going to change because you have to remember everything that you built up to this point. Everything that you built up to this point through your traumatic experience, even though you're building through your traumatic experience, therefore let me see. Read this. Let me read. So if you attract a person that can't get things together, is there a builder in you? That can't wait. Yeah, that could actually be, depending on what you're like. Use an example. I love that question. I love the question. Y'all can throw questions up there all day. Love that question. If you attract somebody, let's use an example. If you're attracting somebody into your space you're always going to attract until you learn the aspects of alignment. These things are levels to this. There's attraction followed by alignment, followed by more attraction, followed by more alignment. The thing that we keep I want to get this out before I answer this question. The thing we keep telling ourselves is, I'm attracting everything, attraction, then alignment, attraction, then alignment. You keep going. It isn't, because that's how we get stuck. Like, I'm attracting everything that I want in my life. Then when everything starts to fizzle out, because the energy got to reset itself so you can fall back into alignment, we lose our minds. But let's say, use an example. You never a day in your life, you know how to make money. Let's use this as an example. This is a good one for everybody. You know how to make money. You know how to make money. You know how to make money. You know how to go get the bag. You know how to go get the bag. Whatever it is, might be OnlyFans. It could be whatever it is. You can go get 4 or 5 jobs. Whatever it is, you can go make the money. You feel me? But everybody that you attract in your life, they can't seem to go get the money. But when it comes to building something or dream, aspiration, goals, or building something, you're attracting every studio rapper on the planet. Like, every nigga got a mixtape that you dealt with. Everybody got mixtapes and everybody got dreams and everything. And you know how to make money. Here's the key with self-reflection. The reason that you keep attracting that into your life is because your lack of the ability to understand money. That emotional, I want you to understand, write it down. Emotional intelligence, the byproduct of emotional intelligence is financial literacy. So until you define how you made money and why you make money the way you make money, you're always going to attract something that is going to come to you based in that same aspect. So let's say you know how to make money because you came from a space where you were lacking. There was no money. Your mom struggled for up 10 years. Your dad walked out, whatever it may be. Your definition or an emotional understanding of money is through scarcity of fear of not having it. So now everybody that comes into your space, they've learned in their space to make something out of nothing. Y'all both came from the same space. Both of you are making something out of nothing. You know what I'm saying? Both of you are in the aspect of building something out of nothing. The thing is, neither one of you have learned the emotional aspects, the emotional intelligence to actually learn what it means to build something out. So now, let's take that relationship fizzle, whatever it is. And you know how that relationship, because y'all, every relationship is intimate, but not every relationship is meant to have physical. Every relationship is an intimate relationship, but not every relationship is meant to go past this intimate level. You feel me? But now you go to the next relationship. Now you're sitting there, you making your money, you getting your bag. Now you meet the brother, you meet this person, and now they're giving you the game. No matter, we don't use something wild. They're giving you the game based on investing in stocks, and you're investing in stocks. They're a scammer, whatever it is. They're teaching you the game they're giving you your outlook based on money, on managing and getting more money and learning how to move accounts. Now I want you to think about this. The reason that you attracted this person is because deep down in your definition about getting money, or the struggle, or that aspect of that emotion, you feel that any other way to get money, any other reason to get further ahead with money in your life is a scam. Any other way, you don't feel deserving of it. Because you feel like being happy, your happiness, let's get deep into the emotions. Your happiness is a scam. You being happy is a scam. You're unworthy of it. So anybody talking about bringing happiness is a scam. Gotta come with strings. Gotta come with something attached to it. So now everybody that you attract into your space, even when they're building based on the scam method, until you deal with that, you can't level up. So now you realize these emotions. You realize how you attract people. You realize these conversations you having with these brothers is based on brothers, sisters, whoever it is based on something tangible. Because your under root score, the under aspect of it, you put an excessive need for external value because of the lack of value inside of your own emotional understanding. So now you start dealing with that. So now you meet the brother. Now they're learning how to reassess, and you get the bag. And now you meet somebody, they don't have as much money. They don't have all the money. They don't have the whole bag. But they're at a point in their life where they're rebuilding. See, your mindset was still stuck on, if we come together, we can have more. But his mindset is, he or she, their mindset can be, what are you spending your money on? They've learned the game. What emotional impulses are you living off of? What emotional impulses have you used to build your expenses? What emotional impulses have you been using to go get that rent that's that much? What emotional impulses lead you to spending the money that you spend? And now how much are you actually saving? But you couldn't hear that. If you don't hear that, you can't tell me, because I've done this. The first thing that will get triggered by, be like, I've been doing this for the last 6-7 years by myself. Okay, that's nice. You want to validate that. It's not that I can acknowledge that all day, but what have you done with it? My question is always going to be, what have you done with it? You say you've done that all. Okay, cool. What have you done with that though? You've been doing that for the last 7 years, but have you reflected on why it hasn't went anywhere? Have you reflected based on the accounts with yourself? So now you're attracting somebody that's in the aspects of building that up. Here's the key that I mess a lot of people up. You find this person comes into your space that is a true builder of system, a true builder of order, a true builder of order in building a structure and a system. But you have not submitted to the emotional aspect with yourself to even submit to even, you haven't submitted to this because you're still denying and you're still in that repression aspect with yourself to even have that conversation. Because all you're hearing is control. All you're hearing is telling me what to do. All you're hearing is you don't know my story. All you're hearing is the same shit you've been telling yourself as we started in the beginning of this live. All you're hearing is the same story you've been telling yourself from your unresolved, that unresolved argument you tell yourself to convince yourself and keep yourself validated. So now this person is giving you this information and now you're triggered because now you want to devalue or invalidate whatever they're saying because it's not coming to you to make you comfortable. See, when you're coming into attraction, everything that you come into attraction with that is based on you going forward will take you outside of your comfort zone. Once you're outside of your comfort zone, now you out here in the world in your comfort zone. If you're learning how to breathe, sitting in the moment, I'm in the moment of now, everything else that's about to come up, that's what you're in alignment with. That's your honesty. So if I'm trying to build my, like use an example. I've been building my company in the public for 3 years. I've been building my company and what I do now for I've been building it I've been building in the public spectrum for 3 years. That means providing therapy services and the services that I provide for 3 years. During this last 3 years, because from the COVID, it's actually been 4 years. It's been 3 years because of the COVID thing and everything of that nature. I had to, just because I did the healing, I've done my work. I've done that deep cleansing and going through my hell loops and everything else. And I've now came out on the other side of that and I'm still using those. It's not one and done. I'm still doing it. Now I got to build something. Now I have to build. Now I have to assess in a positive sense in that space. So my idea about how money worked, had to define it. That's why it was so easy for me to tell that story and transparent. I had to define it. That means the relationships that I attracted in that space were based on triggering me in relationships, friendships, everything I was attracting at that point in time. They were attracted based on my definition of money, how I defined money, what it was a resource of, and what the emotional resource behind it was. So once I started understanding that aspect, I was like, damn, that's what these relationships was for. The human experience was still the human experience. Still went through some bull, still went through shit, but I was more accepting of it. It was healthier. It was a healthier release, a walk away. I was able to say certain things in those spaces and learn other things in those spaces. All the way to the point I'm at now. Because I'm still in the process. If I sat here, like, I didn't think I was going to be going live on TikTok. Hell, I didn't think about going live on TikTok. I had to build that process. A lot of self-reflection. A lot of me being able to sit there. Now, every time I get in front of, it's easy for me to actually, because I've done that internal work. I went through those processes of that work. So everything that I'm doing is naturally going to be in that organic state. Now I'm not worried about, oh my God, this is not going to happen. And this ain't going to happen. And this ain't going to happen. Let me read this rest of this. Mm-hmm. And that also goes into the aspects we talk about, like the builder inside of you, that concept inside of you. There's a builder inside of there's a builder inside of all of us. Every one of us are capable of building. What you are capable of building is based on it. That's the custom authenticity. Some of you are not meant to build certain things, but you got to learn that aspect about you. Some of you are not meant to. Some of us are not meant to build based through the narrative of us trying to be first. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Biggest thing about mistakes, like there's no such thing as fucking mistakes. That's the amount of information that you had at that point in time. It's like you have to be inside of that space with yourself to where I'm accepting, damn, this isn't a mistake. Because this is how we keep triggering ourselves, these trigger words. As we get deeper into these, we don't get into these words. These trigger words. You'll say it's a mistake, and that mistake triggers wrong. That mistake automatically triggers into your shadow. It hits that inadequacy. It hits that insecurity. It hits that unresolved button. It hits that unresolved lock. And you can't open that lock with light. That lock working in your shadow, that lock don't open with light. That lock of insecurity that got you locked, got that part of you locked up, it don't unlock with light. It doesn't unlock with light. Remember, light is information. So you yelling at the top of your lungs, I'm tired of what my life is fucking is. It don't unlock the lock. It rattles the lock. And what's behind that lock, guarding that lock, that's what keep coming out. Okay, it's time to get fed. That's all you keep telling yourself. Every time you say something from the victim mentality, you chime that it's feeding time. Every time that you say you deserve something and you know that you have not done the internal work yet of that space or it's underdeveloped, you're saying that it's feeding time. So this is where in the physical space of your space in the world, where you wondering why every time you go into a space, a nigga drains you. Every time you go into a space, some chick draining you, people are draining you, it's because you calling them to you. See, when we get into the aspects of this, when we get into this work, you calling them to you. You calling them. No one's calling these people you. It's kind of like if you were sitting on Facebook and you were selling pounds. You selling dope. You selling dope on Facebook. Now you got the pounds you got the pounds sitting in your seat, in your lap. You taking pictures. You got the gun on you. You got the car with you. And then since you're not taking responsibility for how you shining and shit, you got those unresolved aspects based on acceptance, rejection, inadequacy, insecurity. And now somebody sends you a friend request and they look like they're of the same. This is a metaphor for being spiritual and conscious. This is a metaphor for spiritual and consciousness. So now you look at that page and they look like you and you can relate to them. You let them into your page. You make the invite. So now all of a sudden you wonder why more stuff is happening to you. Think about what the invite was. You invited based on being alone, feeling alone. I don't make it. Do you want to know the type of friend request I get on Facebook half of the time? It be the weird bots. It'd be like the one, it always be that weird shit where it'd be the girl, it'd be like the chick, and like it has like that one picture, hey, subscribe to my page. I'd be like, block. The fuck is this? In the beginning, I was looking at like, see, how do I keep getting these? But this is the research part. Self-reflex. I'm like, how do I keep getting these? How do I keep getting these into my space? 'Cause I always noticed after certain friend requests, I would get those in my space. Then I go look at the friends that sent me friend requests that I didn't know about, that I really didn't know who the fuck they were. And I see the friend requests, and then I go look at when I go look at one of these pages and I see mutual friends, I'm like, you accepted that friend request. You invited that shit into my space. It's not on you that it's not on your fault that you invited that type of energy into my space. It's not your fault. It is my fault for not actively assessing my boundaries of my damn space. So it was on me. All I can accept is it's on me. It's on me whether I want to heal or not. It's on me. And in the same sense of me now being in the space where I'm at right now, doing the work that I do right now, this is always been my purpose. Like, using the example, when you start doing this self-reflection and you become more authentic, you're not going to be doing this based on how everybody else does it. I don't know. I don't see anyone that speaks like me. I've only seen very few speak like this, speak in their own lane at this tone. I haven't seen many people come like this. I'm not looking for that. I'm not searching for that. Because I know, guess what? These conversations got to be made normal. These conversations got to be normalized. Us talking like this got to be normalized. Us really understanding that the traditions that we were trying to cling to were based on traumatic experiences. And if we want to have more traumatic experiences, let's keep the old traditions. We're changing. You're changing yourself into an authentic version of yourself. Everybody can't. What the fuck? This is your change. This is your growth. This is you expanding. This is your growth. This is your expanding. Eventually, when I learn how to do this on this damn page, yeah, we're going to do more stuff because I don't know how to do none of the other stuff. But yeah, if you have any questions, you want to do any builds, please hit me up in the DM. You can hit me up in my DM. Hit me up in the DM to inquire about services. Everything from readings. I have 5 general readings that I do. I also do custom readings, more custom. Like I do other readings that I do not promote. But if you ask me about the reading, I can price it based on that. That's how that works. All the way up to if you just want to have you feel like you need to have a conversation that's really quick to the point, little 30-minute conversation, little guidance. It's like $40 for that. All the way up to the hour, it's an hour 45 at least for the shadow work consultation. That means we're sitting there and literally, you see how I'm like, you can see me, but I can't see you, but I can feel you. We have a video call if you're not local to where I'm at. We have a video call and I'm literally sitting there analyzing you, listening to we're bringing your story up to the table. I'm asking questions based on me reading your energy. And then from that consultation, I'm going to send you the recommendations for shadow work therapy, going through the shadow work therapy sessions with me. My shadow work therapy sessions, it's a beginning of 4 to 6 weeks, and it's a bi-weekly. And then we get deep down, and then it's therapy on the next level. I'm not a traditional therapist at all. I do nothing fucking traditional. I don't understand what that is. That's why I'm Papa Lucifer Samdi. I'm your occult psychologist, occult therapist, shadow shaman, spiritual life coach, holistic healer, whatever you want to say. But I always say these 3 things. Healing is destructive. You are deserving, but you are not entitled. In this level of honesty is going to take you to sit down in aspects of that darkness. It doesn't matter what happened to you. It's how you choose to keep reacting to what happened to you that's giving you everything that you got going on right now. You know what I'm going to do? I'm feeling like to pull a couple cards, so I'm going to pull 2 cards. In the aspects of that, that card meant to be pulled. I've been pulling this card for like the last 5 minutes. We're looking at the aspects of the Knave of Coins, the Knave of Swords. The knaves represent, if you're not familiar with the knaves represents opportunities. The knaves represent opportunities. The fun thing about opportunities and obstacles come in the same box. Opportunities and obstacles come in the same box. There are 2 sides of the same damn coin sitting in the same box. So every opportunity that you have is behind every obstacle. Behind every obstacle is your opportunity, and every opportunity is your obstacle. The Knave of Swords represents you're sitting in this space right now. You're in the space right now where it's an opportunity to assess what's either, it's time to assess what is time to be cut out or what's time to be cut through. You're sitting in that space with yourself. As we're looking at the aspects of the 2 of Swords, we're looking at aspects of conflict. You're looking at the aspects of conflict. You in that conflict when it comes into the aspect, you're looking at things based on the potential is not in the present. Your potential, you're not in the present aspect. You're looking at the potential based on your own past and versus your new future. You're looking at your potential based on the past, and you're too much thinking about the past because you're thinking, well, I spent all of this time waiting for this and now I got something for it. Or you're looking at the future and you're like, it's too late for me to start over. Here's the key. There's no such thing as starting over. I'm going to let you know that now. There's no such thing as starting over. Give a quick anecdote. When you're sitting in your car and you got the GPS on your phone, you got GPS on and you going from you going out of town, you somewhere you ain't never been before. When the GPS reroutes, it don't tell you to go back to your house. It's not, your GPS will never tell you to drive back to your house to start the route over. Your GPS will never tell you to go back to your house. And if it does, you might need to get that shit fixed. Back to that GPS system, it's not going to take you back to the house. It's starting from right there. That's the aspect of that 7 of coins. It represents that timing. You're in the space now. You're used to validation. Now it's time for confirmation. If you see me come across your screen at any given time, it will be for confirmation. I'm humbly too transparent to be something to validate anything. Unbiased, impartial, unapologetically, darkness. Let's read this real quick. Yeah, that's usually the feeling. I'm sorry about that's usually the feeling about that with the ouch part. That's usually the feeling. It usually hurts. It hurts. I promise you it hurts, but it hurts real, real good. The thing that's stopping you is the aspect of this glamour right here. The Magician represents that glamour. See, the thing that keeps stopping you is you walk away from it for a little bit, or you question it a little bit, and then something happens that restores your hope. It restores your hope. But here's the thing. You're noticing that every time it restores the hope, it takes longer and longer for you to recoup. It takes longer and longer for you to reroute. It's taking longer and longer for you to reroute, to get yourself back in order. Because that glamour Yeah, I remember that glamour, that light, that projection into that space. That's light. And it needs your doubt. It needs that inadequacy. It needs these aspects. It needs that shit to keep going. Or else it doesn't work. Then we go into the aspects of, I knew it was coming. If you're not familiar with how I do readings, if you've never gotten a reading from me, 90% of my readings, I can pull up the file. I'll pull 2 cards sometimes. And after the third card, I know what the next card is going to be because I'm not using the card, I'm reading energy. Yeah. Welcome, my friend, the devil. That glamour is falling away. And the first time that you seen that glamour earlier on, because you saw some shit that you couldn't rationalize it. You couldn't rationalize how that person was. When that glamour first fell off, you couldn't rationalize it. And that's what has you stuck. That's what has you stuck, cutting out. Taking the steps to remove yourself away, because it's feeding. It's this feeding aspect in that space. You've been feeding on that for so long, and you've been manifesting it through the lack mentality, through the hurt, through the inadequacy, you've been trying to manifest through this trauma, the trauma aspect, and now you came to this. That's what's possessive. That's the possessiveness. So then we go into the aspects of that 10 of coins. You're at the end of the cycle. You have a choice. That 10 of coins represents you have a choice. It's time for assessment. This assessment is going to be the very, very necessary assessment, because you're going to be sitting there like, man, but my life was, Stop telling your life could have been some other type of way. I'm hearing that now. Stop telling yourself your life could have been every which way if you left sooner. Stop telling yourself that my life could have been every which way. My life could have did this, this, and this if I did this, this, and this, or if they did this, this, and this. It's not on them. It's on you, accountability with yourself. It's time for you to really step into your process. The thing that stops you a lot of times with your processes is that fear. You're coming to the end of that cycle, but every time you come to this point right here, where the cuts stop, where the pain stops, where you come to a point of being numb. And then sitting in that numbness, you rationalize. And you've done that shit for a long time. You felt, I'm feeling that feminine aspect. It was like you saw your mother doing that shit for a long fucking time. You saw everybody in your life that meant something to you. That's what they displayed to you. Just remain numb and just remain numb with the shit. And it'll work. Just remain numb and it'll work. And just work through it. And it's the da-da-da-da. It's that old binding of for better or worse and that bullshit. You in a new space. You coming to that new space. Stop being afraid of the judgment. Stop being afraid of what motherfuckers are going to think. This is the aspect for you. Until you tap in and do this aspect with yourself, nothing is going to be elevated or changed for you, because you're going to be stuck in that mindset of, this is what I deserve. Remember what I just said. Healing is destructive. You are deserving, but you are not entitled. The healing process is destructive because it forces you to realize that faith without works is dead. And since faith without works is dead, and I think that I'm entitled to some shit, how will I get what I deserve? So you're looking into that space with yourself. It's going to be a very ugly process. But if you want to get to this right here, you want to get to this new scape with yourself and explore the intimacy with yourself, you're going to have to take that step. As I clear these cards out. But yeah, I desire you to be the motherfucking best every single fucking day. I desire you to be the fucking best every fucking day. Because that's what I desire of myself every fucking day. This has been another aspect of Shadow Sessions. I think next Wednesday, we might do a couple readings during that. Everything with me from setting up a consultation, setting up a quick 30-minute call, to setting up a consultation, to acquiring about all my services, any of my services, from a native chart analysis, human design analysis, and many other services that I provide. Go ahead, hit me up in the inbox. Hit me in the inbox, or the links in my bio. Hit me up in the inbox and let's start a conversation. Let's get you to where you at. I can't do anything. I have one rule. I have one fucking rule. Actually, I have a few, but I have one requirement. I will never. Your dedication sets the tone for how deep we're going to go. Your dedication to you sets the tone to the process. If you're not willing to do that shit, stop expecting others. Damn, y'all was loud on that one. If you're not willing to sit there and bite your fucking tongue off, if you ain't willing to sit there and bite through your own shit, stop expecting others to do it for you. It's time to do this fucking work. Once again, I'm Papa Lucifer Samdi. You're a coach therapist, psychologist, psychoanalyst, shadow shaman, life coach, holistic healer, whatever it is. But I'm here as the guide. I only can guide based on the level of dedication to you. I'll see y'all next Wednesday. Make sure I can turn this off. I'll holler at y'all next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Wednesday, we're doing these shadow sessions. Come through, stop through, talk for a little while. We have a little Q&A, we build. Other than that, you ain't got to wait till next Wednesday to see me. Hit me up in the inbox and we build from there. I love you. We love us. Ashe. Let me figure out how to turn this off, by the way. Yeah. Oh. Wrong button. We're learning. What if I want to? Oh, I can pause it. Y'all leave me alone. Y'all leave me alone. I can't. I'm learning. It says pause live. Admin settings. Okay, that don't matter no more. Oh, okay. Y'all leave me alone. I'm special. Yes. There. Wait.